For the best prices and service on Pokemon TCG singles and products, check out ccgcastle.com and use promo code Evolutionaries-5 for 5% off your next order.
Hello, Pokemon fans! I'm Professor K from the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and today we are here with another Deck Tech Thursday, the very first expanded Deck Tech Thursday that we have ever done. I know we promised we were going to do that about 44 episodes ago, but yeah. As it turned out, last season, expanded really wasn't as big of a factor going into last year's season as it is this year's. This year, half of the events turned out to be expanded, so we're just going to have to deal with it and, well, play around it to the best of our ability. You know, I'm not a huge fan of expanded just because it kind of limits the player base for new players to come in and actually play the game like standard. Standard, you can come in and you can pretty much get everything you need at a fairly affordable price, and they're easy to get. But with expanded stuff, well, quantities are limited and the prices can be expensive, so I know that it kind of deters some players from playing expanded, but no matter what, it is part of the season. We're going for our invite this year, so regardless, we have to play it. I do want to try to do expanded deck profiles either every other week if we can, but at the very least, I would like to try to do them every 2 weeks. So we'll go like standard, expanded this week, and then we're gonna go standard, standard, expanded, standard, standard, expanded, kind of like that. So we'll see how things go on that. Today we're gonna be focusing on my favorite deck to play. It may not be the best in the expanded format right now, but it is my favorite deck to play because, I don't know, I like it. Like, I'm not usually a fan of item lock decks, but for some reason, Trevenant holds a very special place in my heart. So we're gonna be playing Trevenant here, and we're gonna show you guys the deck profile that I've come up with so far. Testing has been pretty decent to me so far. I can't say it's been phenomenal, but it hasn't been bad either. So we're gonna go with this list and show you guys what I've got so far. Obviously, Fort Wayne is very, very close. It's only a week from now. So if I do play this, I've gotta make sure that it works out really well. But if I don't, then I'm gonna have to play something else. So anyways, we're just gonna go ahead and go forward here. So we're gonna start off with 4 copies of Phantump. Phantump is the Pokemon you wanna start with. Ascension is the attack for a colorless energy. You search your deck for a card that evolves from this Pokemon and put it on top of it, which means Trevenant turn 1 for you, whether you go second or you have ways of even making it happen if you go first. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Not to mention, this attack can be used for free with Dimension Valley because it is a colorless attack on a psychic Pokemon. So if you go second and you get Dimension Valley out and you start Phantump, you can just go, well, no energy in hand. What am I gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna Ascension. So it's nice. It's very nice. And it definitely frustrates the heck out of your opponent when you get that turn 1 item lock. Even if they don't go first and they have 1 turn to burn items, it's still very frustrating. So there we go, 4 copies of Phantump. There we go. Next up, we got 4 copies of Trevenant. What we're talking about here is the ability Forest's Curse. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent can't play items from his or her hand. So this is a thing. Yeah, it's a strong ability for sure. And if you start it, well, there goes your opponent's chances of pretty much doing much of anything unless they've got draw support in hand and they draw into what they need. There's really no way for them to search for it. So Trevenant is a really good card. Like I said, if you go second, your opponent plays out 1 turn of items, you go, set up whatever. Ascension, boom. They have no items ever again unless they bring up something on the bench that isn't a Trevenant. So that's their only hope to break the item lock in that sense. So we do play 4 copies of Trevenant for that reason. This is the way that we win the game. We lock our opponent out of items and we pressure them with constant spread damage, which we can do with 2 ways. We have Tree Slam, which does 60 damage and 20 to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. It's a double colorless and a psychic, but with Dimension Valley, you can do it for 2 energy. And the other way we do it is with Trevenant BREAK. Trevenant BREAK, 160 HP Psychic type Pokemon. Silent Fear for a Psychic and a colorless. You put 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So it's very strong. You're spreading 30 damage everywhere. And you're just pressuring them like, okay, there you go, 30 damage everywhere. Every turn, no items. You're gonna have to knock me out or Lysander or Guzma something up off my bench, and then you get your items back to start doing stuff. That's the only way you make it work. So if you play Trevenant, you gotta play it smart and make it so it's very difficult for them to do that. They're gonna have to have that key Lysander or Guzma in their hand in order for it to work. So the odds are in your favor that you'll be okay. So just be careful with how you play your bench. That's the biggest thing. Now, the biggest problem that Trevenant BREAK has faced in the past is late game power. Because once you get a couple of Trevenants knocked out, you're in trouble. So what are you gonna do to put the pressure on for the big numbers? Well, we finally have an answer to that with Necrozma GX. First and foremost, let's take a look at its ability. Light's End. Any damage done from your opponent's colorless Pokemon is negated. You just can't do any damage to it with colorless Pokemon. It's got 2 attacks. Prismatic Burst, discard all psychic energy from this Pokemon. The attack does 60 more damage for each energy you discarded this way. And Black Ray GX, this is what I'm talking about. This attack does 100 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon GX, Pokemon EX. Not affected by weakness, resistance, or anything else like that. But you're dealing 100 damage. So essentially, really all you have to do is go Silent Fear 3 to 4 times. If your opponent has 3 Pokemon EX or GX on the bench, if you Silent Fear 3 times and come in and sweep with Black Ray, that's 190 damage to everybody that's got, that's a GX or an EX. 190. That's knocking out a lot of things. A lot. So you can actually win the game in essentially 5 or 6 turns this way, if it sets up perfectly the way you want to. The only thing is that Black Ray GX is a 3 colorless energy, and so is Prismatic Burst. But with Dimension Valley, it's 2. So you will have to bench it and attach 1 energy before you're able to do anything else. So it actually is in a very bad spot on your bench for 1 turn. Only 1 turn if you're very careful with how you play Necrozma. You want to just make sure you've got damage out there for Silent Fear before you ever bench that Necrozma. Then when you drop it and attach, you just have to really hope that your opponent doesn't have Lysander or Guzma in hand, because if they bring it up and have access to items, or if they've got enough power to knock out this in 1 shot, your game is effectively over. So you really have to be careful with how you play Necrozma, because this is what changes the game for you. All right. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna lose, by the way, because this is really strong on its own, but this is a big factor as to how you can win the game faster before your opponent has a chance to recover. The last Pokemon in the deck is a bit controversial. There's 2 choices that you can play. You can play Tapu Lele GX, or you can play Jirachi EX, because Stellar Guidance does the same thing. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a disc or for a supporter card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, shuffle your deck afterward. I like this better because you're able to search it out with Level Ball, which is also good for searching out Phantoms. So this deck doesn't like to discard. It really doesn't like to discard at all. So because of that, I like Jirachi a little bit more. It is an easier target to put down. That's the only bad thing about it. 90 HP, it's an EX Pokemon, it's a 2 prize Pokemon. So essentially, you're just gonna wanna make sure that you have a way to get this thing up off the bench, which we do. We have a way to do it, but you need to play it carefully. And I think that it's better than Tapu Lele just because of that. If not, well then, I mean, you could play Lele and get rid of the level balls and do something else. For now, I like Jirachi EX a little bit more. I'll test it a bit more, but Lele is also an option. Just keep that in mind. So for our supporters, we have 3 copies of Professor Juniper because we can. It's the same as Sycamore, discard your hand, draw 7 cards. I played in the black and white era. I like Juniper more just because that's what I used to play. And now I get a chance to play it again. Nostalgia factor. It's just how I am. I'm almost 30 years old, so nostalgia is a thing for me. And that is why I like to play Juniper. We also have 3 copies of N. Each player, of course, shuffles their hand into their deck and draws a card for each of the remaining prize cards. Both of you. So 3N, 3 Juniper. I don't like to play 4 because, again, like I said, the deck doesn't like to discard. I'd rather N than Juniper, but sometimes you have to. So it's there if you need to. We play 2 copies of Wally. This is the way you're going to get your turn 1 Trevenants. Wally says, search your deck for a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon, excluding Pokemon EX, and put it on that Pokemon. This counts as evolving your Pokemon. Shuffle your deck afterward. You can use this card during the first turn or on a Pokemon that was put into play this turn. So there you go. First turn, boom! There is your Wally into Trevenant on the Phantom. Also, you can Jirachi for Wally. Wally into Trevenant, turn 1. There's ways to do it. There's 3 Level Ball. Well, we're going to get into that, but there's Level Balls, there's Ultra Balls, and you can get into Wally itself. You can draw into Jirachi itself. There's a lot of ways to make it happen. So there's 2 copies of Wally for that. I'm going to move these down just a little bit to make room for our next supporter card. I like to try to fit everything that I can onto my mat in one shot. That should about cover it. We got 1 copy of Lysander. Guzma's not a good option in this because you really don't want to bring up something on your bench. Switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with his or active Pokemon. Lysander's the best choice in this deck, and we only need 1 of them because we're spreading damage more than anything. This is more of just a stall tactic to put something in the active and your opponent can't get out without hard retreating. 1 copy of AZ. Put one of your Pokemon into your hand. Discard all the cards attached to that Pokemon. Guess what this is for? Boom. Jirachi. Also, if you have something that's really damaged, or you get stuck in the active with like Necrozma or something, you can AZ it back up. Works out really well. Again, with damage as well, if you only have 1 energy attached to a Trevenant BREAK, you can AZ it, discard that energy. Your Trevenant's fine, and if you got other stuff on the board, you can start re-evolving stuff right away. 1 copy of Delinquent. Discard any stadium card in play. If you do, your opponent discards 3 cards from his or her hand. This is a very big disruption card, and I do really like it in this deck because this deck is all about disruption. It's item disruption, it's energy denial, it's a lot all in one, which you are going to see more of here in just a minute. Delinquent's really good. You do play a lot of stadium cards, so it doesn't hurt you to discard them as long as you have another one in hand to replace it on the next turn. That's the big thing. Next up, Team Flare Grunt. Discard an energy card attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. This can be devastating in a deck like this where your opponent's pretty much limited on their search options. Discarding a DCE off of a Seismitoad or something that hits hard in general, it's a big thing, and it hurts them a lot. So Team Flare Grunt is good when you have nothing else you can really do, just to disrupt even more. 1 copy of Xerosic, because if we get put under item lock, we don't have a way to disrupt that on a Seismitoad player. So this says you can choose a Pokemon tool card or special energy card attached to a Pokemon in play and discard it. There you go. So that's how we're going to get rid of Seismitoad's double colorless energy. Xerosic is the only way we're going to be able to get around that. The deck can work without playing its own items, but it's better, of course, to have items to really maximize the amount of work that this deck can put in. We have 4 copies of VS Seeker. Get a supporter card from your discard pile, put it into your hand. Again, we have items, your opponent does not, unless they're playing Trevenant as well, or they're playing Seismitoad. So really, it's just about who sets up first in that respect. So there's that. Also, we have, whoops, I almost didn't grab that last one. 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Discard 2 cards from your hand and search your deck for a Pokemon. Reveal it, put it in your hand. Plain and simple. That's one of the ways you can get your Jirachi and go for a supporter card, or there's another way as well with Level Ball. It also gets you all of your pieces of the puzzle here for Trevenant. Very important. Here we go with the Energy Denial. 4 copies of Crushing Hammer. Flip a coin of heads. Discard an energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you're good at flipping heads, this is the card for you. You're playing a deck that wants to stall your opponent and pressure them with damage and lock them out of items. So 4 Crushing Hammer is the best way to go. Another way to say, attack me, I dare you, is Bursting Balloon. You attach this to one of your Pokemon. If your opponent attacks that Pokemon, they take 60 damage themselves. So even if they take a knockout, they're going to take 60 damage. And again, it's adding damage to a deck that has trouble putting out high damage numbers. So this is really good. The only way out of this is a Lysander. Unless they're, well, yeah, it is the only way actually, now that I think about it. Or a Xerosic. A Lysander or a Xerosic is the only way you're going to get around a Bursting Balloon in this deck. So there's that. Next up, 3 copies of Level Ball. This grabs your Jirachis. It grabs you also your Phantoms. You search your deck for Pokemon with 90 HP or less, reveal it, put it into your hand. So 3 copies of Level Ball. We have 9 total ball searching cards just to get what we need to make this deck work. We got more hammers though. 2 copies of Enhanced Hammer. You discard a special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. Guaranteed, no questions asked. Get rid of it. It's gone. And under item lock, well, this doesn't work. But any other circumstance, it works. We also have 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher. I'm considering replacing this with a Super Rod. Haven't made up my mind just yet because I've actually had trouble with energy as well. Put a Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand or shuffle 3 from your discard into your deck. This gets you your pieces of Trevenant BREAK back again, whether it be Phantoms, Trevenants, Trevenant BREAKs. It also gets you back Necrozma if you have to throw it out early, or if you just flat out get knocked out. You can bring it back and try one more time to go for that all-ever-powerful Black Ray GX, and hopefully it'll get you the game. Like I said, I think I'm going to replace this with Super Rod, though. I'm 90% sure I'm probably going to replace that with Super Rod. For now, it's staying just in testing. 4 copies of Dimension Valley. Each psychic Pokemon's attacks, both yours and your opponent's, cost 1 colorless energy less. This is what I was talking about with Phantump doing Ascension for free, Tree Slam for 2 energy, Silent Fear for 1 energy, Black Ray GX and Prismatic Burst for 2 energy. It just makes things so much quicker and so much easier. Dimension Valley is such a good stadium card, and it really, really works out well. And if your opponent's under item lock, they can't field blower it away. All they can do is just bump it with their own stadium, and you got 4. So the chances are you're probably going to win the stadium war. We also have a Computer Search Ace Spec card. You can have one of these in your deck. You discard 2 cards from your hand. If you can't discard them, you can't play this card. You're going to search your deck for a card, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. I'm in between Computer Search and Dowsing Machine. Both cards are good. It's just a matter of which one works better for this deck. I feel like this is more of a setup deck, so I feel like Computer Search might be the better option for now. Again, still in testing. It's either going to be Computer Search or Dowsing Machine, Stretcher or Super Rod, Jirachi or Tapu Lele. You have choices. And then finally, our energy count. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Psychic Energy and 2 Mystery Energy. So you have 8 total energy to work with. Mystery Energy says the retreat cost of the Pokemon this card is attached to is 2 colorless energy less and can only be attached to Psychic Pokemon. Necrozma has 2 energy, so you can retreat that for free if it's attached. Trevenant has 3, so you have to discard this, but it's only 1. So if you have this attached to this, you can discard it and retreat the whole Pokemon. It counts as 3, all the way up to the point that it gets put onto the bench and then it's discarded. So that is it, guys. This is your Expanded Trevenant BREAK deck. For the most part, the deck is actually standard legal, with the exceptions of a few cards like AZ, Dimension Valley, Computer Search, Xerosic, Jirachi. This could be Sycamore for all we care. And also Mystery Energy. Everything else, oh yeah, forgot. This is not. Whoops, I almost forgot the most important thing. Trevenant is not in standard, so otherwise everything else is. It's just how, I think that's how Expanded is going to be. I feel like it's mostly going to be standard stuff with expanded cards sprinkled in here or there. The idea behind the item lock obviously is an expanded only idea, but theoretically you could play the other Trevenants and still have this work as a Trevenant BREAK deck. Anyways, let's just not go into that. This is the deck, this is the Trevenant BREAK deck that I have put together right now. I might swap out a few cards here or there. You guys can do the same, but here's a general idea of what you can do. You can also play the Rescue Scarf version of this as well instead of Bursting Balloon. When it gets knocked out, all the pieces go back into your hand. It's kind of like Splash Energy, but I don't know how I feel about that. We'll just have to see how it goes. Like I said, testing is testing. Bursting Balloon or Rescue Scarf. Rescue Stretcher or Super Rod, Computer Search or Dowsing Machine, Jirachi or Tapu Lele. The options are all there for you guys to mess with it how you will. That's what I like you guys to do anyways, to take the core of a deck, put it together, and tech it out for yourself to your own playstyle. That's the point of these deck techs, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you guys hit that like button, comment down below, subscribe for more TCG content, and we will see you guys tomorrow with another video. So until then, I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries. You all take care. Have a great day.